Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've all heard the phrase a Trojan horse, right? We use it for computer viruses, for sneaky political moves, you name it. But have you ever stopped to think that the original trick, the real deal, was way more dramatic than any of that? Today, we're diving into the epic story of how one giant wooden gift brought a 10-year war to a shocking, brutal end. So, what does it actually mean today? Well, it's pretty simple, right? It's basically any trick that convinces you to willingly let an enemy into your safe space. It shows up looking like a gift, but really it's designed to take you down from the inside. But see, that's just the surface. The real story? It's so much more than just a clever plan. We're talking about a grand epic, fueled by a stolen queen, a seemingly endless war, and one desperate gamble that would go down as one of the most famous deceptions in all of history. To really get what makes the Trojan horse so powerful, we have to go back to the very beginning of the war. And it didn't start with a battle. It started with a betrayal. So how did this whole mess start? Well, it all kicked off when a Trojan prince named Paris visited Greece. He meets the legendary Helen, said to be the most beautiful woman in the world, and decides to take her back home with him to Troy. Just one tiny problem: she was already married to a Greek king. Yeah, you can probably guess how that went down. The Greeks were not pleased at all. And just like that, a massive Greek army set sail for Troy to get their queen back. They probably figured, hey, we'll get her back. This'll be quick. Oh, were they wrong? 10 years. Just think about that for a second. A full decade of fighting, camping outside the walls of a city that just refused to fall. You can imagine the soldiers on both sides were completely exhausted, frustrated, and pretty much out of hope. So you've got this total deadlock. The Greeks, great in a fight on an open field, sure, but they just could not crack Troy's massive walls. And the Trojans, well, they were safe inside their fortress, but they weren't strong enough to push the Greek army away for good. After 10 years, everybody was stuck. And it's right here in this moment of just pure desperation that one of the craziest, most famous plans in all of history is born. I mean, when brute force fails for a decade, you've got to get smart. And boy, did they get smart. The genius behind it all? A Greek hero you might have heard of named Odysseus. He had this brilliant realization. We are never, ever going to break down those walls from the outside. So we have to get the Trojans to let us in themselves. Okay, so here's the plan. It's this incredible 4-part heist, really. Step 1, build a huge hollow wooden horse. Step 2, hide your best soldiers inside through a secret trapdoor. Step 3, make the whole Greek army pack up and pretend to sail home, like they're finally giving up. And the final, most crucial step, leave the horse on the beach, like it's some grand offering to the gods. It was totally audacious, super risky, and honestly, it was their last shot. All right, so the trap is set. The Greeks are supposedly gone, and the entire fate of Troy now hangs on a single fateful decision. I mean, can you imagine waking up to that? The enemies who've been at your doorstep for 10 years have just vanished. The war's over, we won. And on the beach, they've left behind this unbelievable, massive wooden horse. The Trojans were ecstatic. They thought they'd finally won. But, not everyone was celebrating. A few Trojans were really suspicious, especially a priest named Laocoon. And he's the one who gives us that famous line, pleading with his people to think twice. It just felt too easy, Was this really a gift, or was it the ultimate trap? But after a decade of war and fear, the city was just desperate for it to be over. The warnings from a few cautious folks were completely drowned out by this huge wave of celebration and relief. They chose to believe it was really over. And so they do it. They make the one mistake they could never take back. They haul that giant horse through their own gates, the very gates the Greek army couldn't breach for 10 years. And they throw the biggest party the city has ever seen. They're celebrating, completely clueless that their own doom is now sitting silently right in the middle of their city. And then night falls, the party dies down, and the city finally goes quiet. The whole city, totally exhausted from the party, is just out, fast asleep, completely and utterly vulnerable. And that's when it happens. In the dead of night, that trap door on the horse creaks open. Out climbs Odysseus and his elite soldiers, deep inside the walls of Troy. Odysseus and his men, they slip out, they creep over to the city gates, and they throw them wide open for the rest of the Greek army. See, they had only pretended to sail away. Their ships were just hidden out of sight, waiting for the signal. It was a total shock. The Trojans were caught completely off guard. The city that stood strong for 10 long years, it fell in a single night. The war was over, not with a final epic battle, but with a trick. So, what's the big takeaway from this whole epic story? Well, its lesson has been echoing for thousands of years, and it's just as important today as it was back then. You see, this story gave us that phrase for a reason. It's a powerful reminder to always be critical, especially when something looks way too good to be true. The Trojans weren't beaten by an army's strength. They were beaten by their own assumptions and their desperate desire to believe in a beautiful gift without questioning where it came from. And that really brings us to today, doesn't it? The original Trojan horse was a giant wooden animal. Today's gifts are a lot more subtle. Maybe it's that cool new app that's secretly tracking everything you do, or a political promise that sounds amazing but hides a totally different agenda. It could even be an idea that's comforting, but keeps us from seeing a hard truth. So the real question is, what are the Trojan horses in our world? And are we paying close enough attention to see what's really hidden inside?